Okay, welcome back to episode 7 of Hockey Actually, everyone. I'm Izzy. We've got Nicolleta down here, and our guest today is none other than Adam Kierszenblat of the Hockey News. Sensing a reoccurring trend here with our guests. But yeah, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. Training camp officially over in Penticton, so that was a fun opportunity to go to. But yeah, season's on. WHL season's already started. NHL season is what, 2 weeks away, so very exciting times.
Let's talk a little bit about the WHL then, just because we talk a bit about Abbotsford, talk about like the Canucks, PWHL Vancouver, but we haven't really touched on the Giants since we started this podcast. From what I am aware of, the Giants made some new hires over the offseason, head coach and GM. What are we seeing from them so far? I know it's only been a game, but like throughout the offseason and heading into the upcoming season here.
Yeah, so the Giants did their hirings kind of at like an awkward time because uh they didn't really like they couldn't get the GM working before like he came in before the import draft, but like all of the lists had been completed. Um same with how they did the prospects draft. Like it's kind of this awkward timing how they brought them in, but you could really tell that there's a different pace to how they ran training camp this year, how they ran their preseason. Like it's a really younger focused team, which is odd to say because everybody on the WHL is young. Like we're talking, there are players who were born in 2010 who are playing WHL games this past weekend. So, um, but yeah, like the vibes are good around the Giants. Like they have a lot of their young talent pushing for spots. We're going to see a big year from Ryan Lynn. He was one of the first three players selected for the 2025 CHL USA Prospect Challenge, which is this new format that they're doing. So he was the only WHL player, or he was the WHL player of choice among the three leagues. Um, Tobias Tomek, he's their import guy. He's another player who's supposed to go in the first round. You got guys like Cameron Schmidt and Burke Hood, both drafted. So overall, it's going to be an exciting year for the Giants here in Langley. I know that they did lose to Penticton 5-1 in their first game, but it's always really hard to judge how teams do in their first weekend because everybody's kind of just getting together, learning each other. They didn't have Schmidt or Hood, but overall it should be an exciting year. And they're doing their 25th anniversary, so I know that there's going to be lots of opportunity if you watch the Giants over the last 25 years to, see alumni coming back. They have a Y2K night this year, gonna celebrate all things 2000 because remember, there's nobody in the league who was born after or like before 2005. So yeah, they're gonna have
Yeah.
Y2K night. They got the Legends night again. So overall, it's gonna be a fun time.
I'm still kind of caught by the fact that no one in that league was born before 2000. Mind you, I wasn't either, but
Making me feel old, that's for sure.
I know.
Well, yeah, like I mean, there was a player who was signed in the WHL today or yesterday that was born, it was February 2nd, 2010 or something like that. So we're gonna see it next year. Like the Giants have like next year is the 2011 draft. So
Gosh.
I'm like almost a decade older than them. Holy. I feel like I've aged, but I mean it's okay. Like going back to their first game, like I think it's okay to have like a rocky start. Like it's one game. It's not the detriment to how the season's gonna go. And there were some highlights. Like they did do like decently well in some areas. It was just unfortunate.
yeah, they probably deserved a better fate. Like they really came out like hard in the first 7, 8 minutes. Like they should have scored in the first 10 minutes of the game and they didn't. And not just somehow like that's just some way sometimes that happens. And I don't know if it was that they just got frustrated or what happened, but like you saw they didn't have many shots in the second or third period, and I wonder if that was just like they pushed so hard in the first 10 minutes that it kind of like demoralized a little bit, and that happens all the time in the WHL. That's not like a specific thing that only happened this weekend. Like you can tell teams sometimes it's like they get 10, 15 shots in the first like 10 minutes and then they get 10 the rest of the game because the other team's goaltender is just getting in their head. Like we saw it, and then you have situations like in Everett where their goaltender first WHL start makes 60 saves on 63 shots, and then also went into a shootout. So it's really like he faced like 70 shots. So like there's flip sides to the coin, but overall, I think the Giants can take some positives away, especially Ryan Lynn just kind of being dominant out there is always a great sign.
And kind of talking about the changes that have come in the past little bit, I'm wondering, Parker Burgess coming in as the new head coach. He just recently, last year, I think, right, won a Clark Cup in the USHL. I'm wondering if do you think that experience bringing like a USHL team to a championship, he can kind of apply to this WHL team and maybe see how things go, possibly.
Well, it's interesting because Parker's talked to us a little bit about this USHL, and like coming over because the leagues are very different. Like they're very different in the way that the game is played, very different in the scheduling, things like that. So he's still trying to, figure everything out, but he has a lot of experience on the bench. Like for Vancouver Giants fans, Wasey Rabbit is their one of their assistant coaches. Like he was on that Vancouver Giants team when they won the Memorial Cup here. He's been an assistant coach at the WHL level already, so that's going to help him. But overall, Parker, like I'm very confident that Parker is going to be a good coach at the WHL level because you just see how the players react to him, how the players talk about him, and he's very open. Like when we talk to him just off to the side or in scrums, like he isn't he's a coach that's going to hold his players accountable, which at the WHL level it's there's a little bit of like give and take with how you talk to the media about your players because some of them are 17, some of them are 18 years old. So there is a little bit of like you don't want to be too harsh on them. Like there is a balancing act. I think Parker's found that so far. Like he's able to tell us that what he liked about a player and what he feels the player needs to improve on or what areas they need to improve on without making it seem like he's going after a player or a situation in the game, which is really crucial when you're coaching younger players. So you can definitely tell that he's worked with the younger players. That's how he won his Clark Cup, and like his communication is very good, at least to start the year so far.
I think that that is such an important aspect too. Like a lot of people tend to overlook the coaching just like younger kids in regards to like you have the NHL and they have fantastic coaches, but like when you're coaching younger age groups, it is such like so important to be able to manage how you talk about them, like as you said, how you talk about them. And to have a coach that is able to balance being critical but also like giving what's the word, like critical feedback, like it's it's good to see, and I'm glad that that coach is going to be able to bring that in for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, like you get every level of that type of coach at the WHL level. Like we've dealt with coaches who, you could lose 5-0 and they talk about how great the team played, and it's like, yeah, I don't know if we were watching the same game or not. But then you have coaches that, might be a little bit too harsh on certain players. Like there, but you have to find that balance, and I think having the USHL experience with Parker is a massive benefit because he understands how to talk to players, how to deal with younger players. Um,
Like how to
like we've seen it
navigate.
where coaches from the NHL come to junior hockey, and it's just such a dramatic difference that it just doesn't work out, right? Like like even here in Vancouver, there's been it's happened where it's like you have these NHL coaches and they come to the WHL and they're like they don't really know how to their expectations are like I've just dealt with, professionals and now I have to deal with kids. Like I don't really know how to make that work. So it's good. It like Parker also is somebody that could definitely, make his way up in the rankings. Um, and might be in the pro game sooner rather than later if he can definitely have success this year.
Well, hoping for the best for this guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of some Giants who could be pros soon, did have a couple, I think you mentioned them before, but did have a couple current Giants who have been drafted to the NHL already, Cameron Schmidt and Burke Hood. What have you seen from them so far, like in their draft years, and what are you expecting from them coming up?
Well, Burke Hood was like a massive surprise last year. So the plan was that Burke Hood was going to be the backup, and then he just played so well that he became the starter. And like the Giants weren't going to miss the playoffs. Um, but he really was he was unstoppable or unbeatable like down the stretch. The playoffs are a little bit of a different playoffs they got a bad draw. They got the Spokane Chiefs who were just like scoring on historic levels. So like you can't really blame what happened in the playoffs on Hood because when any you got Berkeley Ken, Andrew Crystal, and Shea Van Olm coming at you like every second or third shift, like it's just gonna happen. And I mean, two of those guys scored like set modern day NHL or WHL records for points in the playoffs. So but yeah, like I haven't seen him yet, obviously play, just because he's been at New York Islanders training camp, but like he's coming back. I talked to him a little bit during the when the Giants had training camp, and like he learned some stuff at Islanders training camp. He's a lot more confident this year. Like instead of playing to prove that you deserve the job, he has the job, so that's kind of like a relief off of your shoulder as a goaltender. He knows that he still has to play really well, like to keep his job, but he's not like fighting to try to get that opportunity. So it will be interesting to see how he does that. But like that's a guy who probably will be a finalist for WHL Goaltender of the Year. Like if he plays like he did last year. And then Cameron Schmidt, I mean that's a dynamic first line forward at the WHL level. He like when I was watching their game, so he played a preseason game for the Giants and he was just so much faster than everybody else on the ice. Like it was pretty fun to watch, and like you could tell he wasn't going like 100%. He was still faster than everybody else. But like this is a guy who could score 50 goals this year, like easy, just because he has that shot, he has that talent, and it's going to be really exciting to see what happens with between him and Ryan Lynn because that's like a power play dynamic duo that you like rivals any in the NA or in the WHL. And then we'll just see how his like defensive game grows. That's the biggest question. We know what he can do offensively. What can he do defensively? Because in the end, if he's going to be an NHL player, he needs to work on that defensive side of his game. Yeah, and it will just be it's going to be a fun year. Like Schmidt has, like I said, he has the potential to score 50 goals, which would be massive for the Giants. And we'll see exactly what he's able to do this weekend because he and Burke Hood both got reassigned already to Vancouver.
Nice. I was gonna ask, do you have any like dark horses on the Giants that you think maybe people should look out for or
So the player to watch this year is Aaron Obobaifo, and the only reason he didn't get drafted last year is because he got hurt, and I think he only played like 13 games in the end. But this like he looks really good he looked really good in training camp. He looked really good in the preseason. He is a player that's like projected around the fourth round for this year's draft if he can stay healthy because he had multiple injuries last year. He's really ready to go. Like it says a lot that he only played the 13 games last year and he was still invited to Vancouver Canucks prospect showcase. Like that tells you that scouts were watching him and scouts like him a lot. So That's a player to watch. And then Tyus Sparks, that's a name also to keep an eye on. He like lit up the preseason. He is going into his second year. Like he's very dynamic offensively. He's one of these American kids that came up before the NCAA rule came in, so he has like a year of experience. I think that he's going to be really good on the power play. I'm not sure exactly how he's going to line up. I think he'll be in that middle six area, uh, uh, depending on how they build their lineup once Schmidt comes back. But overall, that's a player definitely to watch out for because he has been gaining momentum since he came over to the WHL, and he has the potential to have like a 25 goal season.
Nice. Okay. Well, we'll be sure to keep an eye on those guys.
One other player I was kind of curious about, not in the WHL anymore, I guess, but has been for the past few seasons is Gavin McKenna, who draft eligible this year, not in the WHL anymore. What did you kind of make of his move from the WHL over to the NCAA? Like, what's going on over there?
It wasn't. It wasn't. What's the word? I wasn't surprised
It was
that he
unexpected.
left. Yeah, it was not unexpected. Like this was a conversation that we were like people were having back in December, like that he was gone. Like the WHL tried to everything they could to keep him. They put that prospect or the what I think they called it the Northern Cup this year in the Yukon. Like they tried everything to keep him. It didn't work out. Like when that's just the reality. I mean, this kid is special, right? Like he hadn't outside of winning a Memorial Cup, he did everything in the WHL. He was the CHL Player of the Year. Like and remember still like as a 16-year-old. Like we're kind of seeing it with DuPont. Where Landon DuPont, he's like the next star coming up. He's the defenseman that's not draft eligible until 2027, but like he might be the WHL Player of the Year this year. Um, we'll see. But like, I mean, McKenna is special. Like, I know that there's some people who are trying to make this like a is he gonna go first overall debate? It's like, no, he's gonna go first overall. Like, you can make any argument you want for any other prospect. There's just too big of a gap. Like this reminds me a little bit about remember a couple years ago when it was like, oh, is Adam Fantilli gonna go before Connor Bedard? And it's
Oh,
like, no, like it's not gonna happen. Like there were conversations about is your Bear Brûlé gonna go before Crosby? It's like, no, like, you
This is
know,
the guy. This is the guy
there's
yeah.
everyone
there's
wants.
always those kind of arguments beforehand, though. I
Yeah.
think I remember 2019, like people were like, "Oh, will Capo Caco go before Jack Hughes?" And like, there's always some sort of discussion around that, right? But I guess, like you
Yeah.
said, it's him.
Yeah. McKenna is special. Like I'm really interested to see how he does. Not against older competition, but just to get like just off the scheduling. Like he doesn't have as many games. Like, he can't put forth what a 50 game point streak like he did last year. Uh like that's just it's not possible because there's not 50 games in a NCAA season. So I'm just really interested to see what his point total looks like at the end of the year. He's gonna go first overall. He's gonna play in the NHL next year. Like, I mean, if that neither of those happens, I would be I would be shocked if I would be shocked if one of those things doesn't happen. If neither of those things happened, it's like I don't know what universe we're living in at this point. But yeah, McKenna is special. There's a reason that he set the modern day CHL record for point streak. There's a reason that he basically led Medicine Hat to the Memorial Cup final. And it's going to be interesting to watch him play with Sidney Crosby next year on Pittsburgh Penguins.
And Artur Shilovs.
Yes. There was a
Party
video
party.
that came out, I want to say yesterday, where it's like Arthur Seeloss was taking shots before practice from Sidney Crosby, and somebody said it was like when those like little kids get like a win a contest, and it's like they get to
Oh,
play with their hero
Yeah.
for like a couple hours. So I mean, good for Seeloss. He gets to practice against a Hall of Famer, right? Multiple Hall of Famers because
yeah.
Malkin's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about Shelovs a little bit, but we're just so happy for him. So all the best to him. And you put McKenna on top of that, like, oh, maybe the Penguins are a team to look out for going forward.
Yeah, the Ping and WHL wise, they got some interesting pieces. They got Harrison Brunke, who's from Kamloops, or plays for the Kamloops Blazers. They got Ben Kindle, who plays for Calgary. Both are still with the team in training camp, but like there's a lot of WHL connections over on the Pittsburgh Penguins, so that's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, for sure.
A couple of WHL connections to the Canucks too. I mean, realistically, I think if you're looking at, I guess, quote unquote active, we only have like two, but got Braeden Cootes with the Seattle Thunderbirds and then Parker Alcos of the Edmonton Oil Kings, both of whom are actually still, as of Tuesday, September 23rd at like 5 p.m., both of whom are, as of right now, still with the Canucks as part of the preseason. But have you gotten a chance to check out these players with their respective WHL teams, or has most of what you've seen been with the Canucks?
Well, also Sawyer Mynio is WHL eligible still, but I don't think
Oh
he's going
yeah,
back to
technically,
Calgary.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, so and if we're talking former WHLers, we got Calder Trophy winner Tyler Myers, Kelowna Rockets legend over there.
Hi,
Ty
Young.
Young with Prince George. So there are a couple throughout the system, but yeah, so Parker Alcos, I haven't watched a ton of him just because he plays in Edmonton. And how we do our WHL site is that I cover the West and then my partner covers the East. But I saw Alcos play when they were in Everett last year. And yeah, he looked like he's one of those solid defensemen. He's gonna play like 18, 19 minutes a game with Edmonton, maybe even more this year, depending on how they build out their blue line. He's just one of those like he's not going to wow you with offensive capabilities, but he's one of those guys that every team needs, right? Like you need those third pair defensemen that are great on the penalty kill, that can play like with physicality, that can transition the puck well up ice. So Alcos has the potential to be that player. Uh, and I know like he's also a local kid, so there's a lot of hope that Alcos can grow into a spot on this NHL roster in a couple years. And I mean, Coots. So I talked to Coots last year in I want to say January. It was during the World Juniors. I went down to Seattle and because they have this Everett versus Seattle game that they do every year at Climate Pledge. And I remember like I heard about Coots a little bit, but when I went down there, like the Seattle people from the Thunderbirds organization were like, okay, watch this like eight kid wearing 86, like he's gonna be really good. Like, and I watched him and it was like Everett it was a lot better than Seattle last year. Like that's not that's not like an object like that's just fact. And Coots was like just a pain in the ass for the silver tips like the entire game like and I was just remember like watching him like he would crash the net and he would be behind the net and the puck would transition the other way and he would beat the other two forwards who had like a head start. Like it's like head down, like I'm gonna do everything I can to get back defensively. And then I talked to him after the game and I kind of talked about his draft, like going into the draft and things like that. And all he wanted to talk about was like his current teammates, like so this is really like a kid who has a lot of leadership, like youngest captain in the WHL last year, two-way forward. We've heard Adam Foote, we've heard Patrick Alvin, we've heard his teammates talk about how much they like him. He's getting that opportunity right now to play with NHLers in practices, in training camp and the preseason. He's exactly what you need on your team. Like that's yeah, he's captain material. Like I would not, I wouldn't be surprised if he develops into a captain one day. Like if he wears the C4 and I hope maybe it's Vancouver, maybe it's somewhere else, like down the line. But I would not be surprised if he's a captain in the NHL one day. Um, there's a lot of like he's the exact 2C that you need. Like he's the prototypal 2C. Like he's good two-way. He can win his matchup. He can provide some offense. He's good on the power play. Can play the penalty kill. So if he can continue to develop, like he's shown that at the WHL level, now the question is, can he match that at the pro level? Because it's completely different. Game's faster. People are larger. There's a lot more strategy to the game at the NHL level than there is to the WHL. Goalies are harder to beat. So if he can, work his way up, then yeah, that's a 2C in the making for sure.
Is he making the Canucks this year? The question everybody has.
So so this is an interesting discussion that like a lot of people, including me, have had. Like I think that they should give him an opportunity, but I could see them not doing it just for the simple fact that they would lose either Arshdeep Bains or Linus Karlsson on waivers. Like it sucks to think that way, but like that's the reality. Like unless you're putting like Drew O'Connor on waivers, which you're not, like it's gonna like or like there's nobody else on the roster that you can really do this with. That you can put down on waivers. Like you could put down like you could send Elias Pettersson down like the defenseman, but like he's gonna be on your opening night roster on the blue line, right? Like you can't really operate with two extra forwards and no extra D. So like I would love to see him in the lineup. Like unless they trade somebody and they open up a spot for him, like it's very difficult to see him on the lineup, even though he probably deserves the chance. But that's just the reality of the NHL, right? Like they don't want to lose Arshdeep Bains, they don't want to lose Linus Karlsson on waivers. So even if Coots deserves it, like the other question is, if Seattle doesn't make the playoffs, do you call him up to the NHL, right? At the end of the year. Now that would depend on if the Canucks are in a playoff race or not. But like, there's a potential that Coots could play a couple games at the end of the season, right? We've seen that before, or he gets an AHL opportunity at the end of the year. So, um, I think he deserves it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's 100% of reality based off of how they've constructed the roster.
I would be interested to see if Abbotsford does make a deeper push again and Vancouver misses the playoffs.
Girl,
Um,
don't speak it into existence.
I would be interested to see Coots on that roster just because this is a team that has already won before. Like we saw that last year, and to bring in a young player and to put him through the ropes in that kind of way, I'd be curious. I could see that going well, but I mean, again, everything's hypotheticals right now.
They could go full Montreal Canadiens and like they did with Owen Beck a couple years ago and just call him up as an emergency call up midway through the season. Like that would involve a lot of injuries, but
Well,
they could.
I was gonna say in the case that knock on wood, because I really hope he does stay healthy, like in the case that Philip Hedel, gets another concussion, unfortunately, like do we see that opportunity maybe opening up a little bit more, or is
Or,
there's
there's
a
the
long list?
yeah. Or like we have a situation at the Four Nations at the Olympics where everybody just gets super sick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um like if Hedo goes down with injury, they wouldn't like he would have to like it would have to happen before the season because they would just call somebody up and it would probably be Max Sasson. Mueller, like the problem with Mueller is like we don't know where he's at right now because he missed training camp with an injury. Um, he was supposed to be in the prospect showcase as well, but he was injured, so he didn't play in that. But if Hito goes down, man, like that's not a let's call somebody up. That's a we need to make a trade like yesterday situation.
That's a Mason McTavish kind of situation.
Yeah, like Teddy Bluger was the 2C at the end of the year last year, and he did okay, but like
We
I
can't have that again. I love
yeah,
Booker,
like
but like you can't. He's just
Hey, I
not.
mean, Evander Kane was taking faceoffs at practice today, so
Was he?
who knows?
Who's to
Um,
say? Maybe we're switching things up a little.
yeah, I mean, Linus Carlson can play center, right? Neil Zaman is
He's
still
killing
on the
it.
team,
Yeah.
so I think that if Heedle goes down, it would be like Ratu would be the 2C. Like that would I think that's the plan. Unless they make a move, which I know that they want to, and we've seen it in the past. Like they've been able to pick up some players going into the season. Eric Brandstrom last year, where it's like Brandstrom was going to be put on waivers probably by Colorado, and the Canucks kind of swooped in and were able to make that work for a little bit. And then Brandstrom ended up netting the Canucks Victor Mancini. So, but like we'll see. Like there's the cap is in a situation where it's like players aren't going to be as available because there's so much cap room now. So we'll see exactly how that plays out. But yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to trade, I think, with the salary cap the way it is.
Yeah, so on that kind of topic of Canucks WHL connection and like Coots is I'm curious about what we could maybe see from Sawyer Mynio this season. You mentioned earlier that he is technically like eligible to go back to the WHL, go continue playing for Calgary, but all signs seem to be pointing towards Abbotsford. Do we think that's where he's going to start and where he'll stay?
Yeah, I think that when you look at Abbotsford's roster, like they've created spaces for young players. So, for example, like Christian Wolanin isn't back with the team. Akito Hirose isn't back with the team. Cole McWard isn't back with the team. Like, so you've created these opportunities for younger players, and Sawyer Minio is one of them. So I'm really curious to see how they utilize him. I think that what you're going to see from Minio this year and from Abbotsford is that he's going to be like in that like seventh defenseman spot where he jumps in as soon as injuries are there, or if somebody's not playing well he jumps in, and I could see him getting into like 30 games this year. They are really high on Minio, like the organization is. They're very excited for what he brings. Like he's really good offensively. We saw that in the WHL. He likes to throw hits. That was one thing that was very that came out when he was playing in the WHL. Like he's good at board battles. Now it's just about like can he use that and transition it to the pro game, like we saw with Kirill Kudryavtsev last year, right? Like this is a player, seventh round pick in Kudryavtsev, who we were like, okay, well, he has some intangibles. Like we can see like some of the positive attributes, but how is that going to work at the pro level? Obviously, it worked out really well, and that's one of the reasons that Abbotsford is a Calder Cup champion. Um, but yeah, Minio, like really curious to see how his game adapts to the pro level. Um, from Kelowna or from Kamloops, sorry. So like there's definitely that appetite to see more BC kids do well with the Vancouver Canucks. But yeah, he's gonna get some preseason games. We're gonna see exactly how he um works at the pro level, and that's definitely a storyline to keep an eye on when it comes to the Abbotsford Canucks next year.
I am kind of curious about how their blue line is going to shape up, especially since so much of it will depend on what Vancouver's looks like. Although I think we have a bit of a clearer picture now, but how do you think Abbotsford's D-Core will shape up by the time the opening night comes?
So I think you're gonna get Guillaume Brisebois will be there, and he'll play an important role. I think it's gonna be on the right side. You'll have Mancini, and you'll have Willander, and then you'll have Kudryavtsev. You'll have Jimmy Schultz, and then outside of that, we'll see how the bottom pair fixes up. But I think those are your four kind of those are going to be the guys that they're leaning on um, overall. Yeah, and they brought in some players with experience, so I think that there'll be quite a lot of rotation on the blue line. But I think that if you're looking for like, they're going to give Willander every opportunity at the AHL level. They're going to give Victor Mancini like 20, 25 minutes a night. Kudryavtsev the same. They're going to give him big minutes. So overall, it will be kind of interesting to see how they build out that bottom pair and how many defensemen they go through because they went through a lot of defensemen last year. Last year, and that was just because of injuries to the Canucks and to Abbotsford. But um, they have quite a few players also on who aren't waiver, who don't need waivers to come up and down, like Kudryavtsev, like Mancini, like Willander. So that's also going to play a big factor in how like they may call up some players once in a while, just to get them some practices with the NHL team. But if they do call them up, then they have to play a game in Abbey before they're like they can't do the same thing they did last year where they were just shuttling people back and forth. But yeah, I think that there's going to be some interesting combos in Abbotsford this year when it comes to the D-Core.
Kind of talking about that, training camp literally just ended a couple days ago. So we got to see pretty much the whole list of players within the organization. Was there any young players in particular that stood out to you since you were up there?
Well, Vilmer Alriksson is just kind of hard to miss because he's like 6'6", something like that. There was there was a play where I believe it was Hronek tried to like throw a check on Alriksson and just bounced off of him. And it was like, what do you expect? Like that's probably what you expect is gonna happen. He threw some big hits. Like he was really good in the down low drills, so it's like the one-on-one down low, like making sure that you can drive the net. And he was a standout during the prospect showcase as well. For young players, I mean, Cootes, it was the talk of training camp, right? Like, that's a guy who earned, like we've talked about, probably earned an NHL opportunity because of how well he played at training camp. Other guys that played well, like Mancini and Elias Pettersson, played well. That's probably not super unexpected. Nikita Tolopilo was like the star of the show of the scrimmage, and like I think Adam Foote even said like or no, it was Patrick Alvin said like without Tolopilo, he held them in that game in Seattle. Like that's a pretty big vote of confidence from your GM saying, "Oh, by the way, our team wasn't like great and our goaltender had to bail us out like in a preseason game." Like that's a pretty good um endorsement from Alvin. But like overall, yeah, like you know, Riley Patterson had a good showcase. He just got sent back to the OHL. Um, I was impressed with Kravtsov. I don't know if he counts as a young player or not.
Sure.
Linus Carlson, his speed and his skating has come a long way. Atu Ratu really worked on his skating this off season, which if you read the article that we posted, that was one of the things that he talked about in the in our exclusive interview with him. But overall, yeah, like there's enough young players that are pushing for spots that it should make the locker room very interesting and how the team is built very interesting as well.
I think another player that I'm really curious about this upcoming season, regardless, I mean, he'll probably be in Abbotsford the whole time, but um, Tom Willander. We saw some of him during the prospect showcase, and I don't think many people were overly wowed, to say the least. But again, this is like, I mean, he's played like NCAA the past 2 seasons. This is his first stint in like pro hockey. Do we think it's going to take maybe a season or two to adjust before he can really find his game at the NHL, AHL level?
I think that with Tom, like I know there's a lot of like with Willander, it's like he needs to be on the NHL roster, but I don't think that's the case. Like you know, he's not like I saw some people were like, well, these players made it like to the NHL. These were high draft picks who came right out of NCAA and made it to the NHL. It's like if he spends time in the AHL, that's not a bad thing. Like I just think you have to be careful. Like you can't play him if he's ready he has a good season, like you can't send him back to the AHL the year after. Like that's kind of the line where I'm at. Like he is learning how to play against pros. Like he made some like when you watch him in training camp, like the speed's there, the offense is there, but like some of the stuff like just positioning yourself. Like how do you position yourself against bigger players? Like that's a thing that he's gonna have to learn. Like he can't necessarily do some of the passes that he did in the NCAA because the forechecks are a lot harder in the NHL. Like players are faster, so they can pick up on pucks that, if you make a bad pass, like somebody's gonna jump on it. In the NCAA, you might get that second clutch opportunity. Um, so overall, like he's got some areas where he has to work on. Like he still has a bright future. Like he definitely can be a top four defenseman at the NHL level, no question. I think that one year, a whole year where he's playing like 20 minutes a night in Abbotsford would be great for his development. And then, if we get injuries, then maybe he gets the call up. Like, reward him based off of his performance during the regular season rather than his draft position. Like if we rewarded based off draft position, Kudryavtsev would have never gotten that opportunity last year. Same with Mueller, same with Max Sasson, like same with DPD, right? Like these guys outperformed their draft position arguably, and that's why they're getting opportunities. So I want to see how he does in pro hockey at the AHL level before the NHL, just because it's such a steep jump between coming out of the NCAA and being a defenseman at the NHL level.
I think that's all we had. I did have one more kind of like thing for like the each of us to go around and like talk about, but like I don't know. Are we feeling it? I was gonna ask about who we think some breakout candidates are for the Canucks this season.
We can talk about it.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear Adam's because mine's gonna be pretty basic, but like,
For breakout candidates,
yeah.
Let's just
like
pick, like one.
Like, do you mean like unexpected breakout candidates or like
Someone, let's say, who has a career season or near a career season. I don't know.
I think Evander Kane is gonna pop off this season. I don't know why I get that feeling. I think he's come back home. He's ready to prove himself. I think that is my pick.
Fair enough. Okay, go ahead, Adam.
I think I'm gonna go with Atu Ratu because I'm just a big Atu Ratu fan. Like he's one of my, I know that we're not supposed to play favorites, but like he's one of my favorite players to talk to just because he is very honest. Like he understands what he needs to work on. He's not going to BS, like give us BS answers. He's actually going to give us answers. Like, and he likes to joke around a little bit. Like he just seems like a happy guy. Um, I know, like,
Interacts with the media, you
yeah,
know.
but like not even just that. Like he just feels like a overall positive guy. Like just in general. Like I saw him. I remember the first day of training camp. Like he didn't take the bus. He walked from the hotel to the arena is like 20 minutes, but like I just saw him walking with, I believe it was Michael Samuelson and Mike Karmasaric. So like even that 20 minutes, like just showing, working with your development staff, like walking to the arena, right? Like that shows that you really care. He's often like one of the last players out on the ice. I remember last year I had an interview scheduled with him and like everybody had left and I was just like he was working on something, so it's like he had to get it down before he came off the ice and talked to me. But like that's what you want to see from young players. So I think that Ratu is going to be really good this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him on the penalty kill by the midway point of the season.
Hmm?
That's fair. I really hope he also has a fantastic season. I quite like him as well for different reasons, but
Yeah.
I think he's gonna do well.
I was gonna say my pick was gonna be Linus Carlson. I feel like maybe it's cheating just because he's only really had like that one, I guess, last season, couple games the year before in the playoffs, I think. But I don't know. I think having those kind of games as a placeholder last year to kind of get adjusted, figure out what you're doing, carve out the kind of figure out what role you want to play. And now, like you had mentioned, like you worked on his skating, looks nice and fast now, right? Um, and especially since he's kind of one of those guys who look like they're fighting for like a full-time roster spot, I feel like throughout the season we'll see some pretty good things from him. But again, who knows?
Time will tell. As we say at the end of
As we
every
always,
episode,
I
yeah,
know.
time will tell.
Need to change the name of the podcast to Time Will Tell.
Time will tell. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Adam. It's been lovely having you and getting your opinion on all these WHL, Vancouver, different topics. So thank you.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Go Giants. See how the upcoming WHL season goes. But thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thank you. And really excited to, get out to a PWHL Vancouver game this year. Excited to read all of the content that's going to be coming from the PWHL women's hockey site, I guess. I know that as we speak, Izzy put out an article today that was really good. Excited to see some of the other featured articles. It's going to be a fun time. I know, like the just based off interviews, like the players seem really happy to be here, which is always a great sign. And the market is definitely ready for some women's hockey in Vancouver.
Oh,
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.